Hey guys, you might be wondering why I'm in the dark right now. Well, it's very simple. I had a really cheap makeup job done just before I turned on the camera, and rather than getting a better makeup job, I just had all the lights turned down really low so none of you would notice. Now, is that really stupid and lame and cheap? Absolutely. Welcome to Batwoman. Okay, the Dune clock is counting down. It's out this weekend. I just need to get through one more Batwoman video before I can see the movie. This thing better be worth it. Let's do this. The episode begins with a straight couple doing straight couple things. Can you guess what happened next? If you guessed they both die horribly, I'm so sorry. That means you've seen this show before. Now you know my pain. They get killed in a pool. The guy dies in cartoonishly over-the-top fashion, with his body getting dragged around like, "Wah!" You might have thought you were watching a sitcom the way they staged this. Then we go to Alice being released from Arkham. Yeah, they're really doing this. And remanded into supervised custody. But not the custody of Renee Montoya, mind you. Not even the custody of Batwoman. The custody of Ryan Wilder. Montoya explains the terms of Alice's release. If she hurts someone or attempts to escape, she'll be in Arkham for the rest of her life. And she explains all this to Ryan. And they're talking about this as if Ryan being Batwoman is commonly known information, even though the security guards are standing right there. So, do the guards know Ryan's secret identity too? If they didn't before this scene, they probably do now. Idiots! Later on, Team Batwoman are watching news coverage of the straight couple murder, which the news lady says is similar to Killer Croc's MO. And one of the weapons that went missing was Killer Croc's tooth, which apparently was all that was left of him after the GCPD blew him up with a dump truck full of thermite, because that's standard operating procedure for a police department. So Croc was a normal dude until he got some mysterious infection that turned him into a reptile man. If you were hoping for more of an explanation than that, TS. Bruce was trying to help him, even had the Wayne Tech Labs working on a cure, but then the cops blew him up instead because all police are irrational, dangerous assholes. Mary thinks that if someone found the tooth, that tooth may have carried the infection, so there might be a new Killer Croc out there. So naturally, they look into that cure the Wayne scientists were working on so they can use it to save this poor man before... I'm just messing with you. They don't even think of that. What Ryan does think of is that Mary should help Luke fix the Batwing suit, because Mary, being a medical doctor, would be right in her wheelhouse trying to fix a technological suit of armor. I don't know what's stupider. The fact that Ryan even thought of this in the first place, or the fact that this is exactly what ends up happening. Because God forbid Luke actually be able to do the one thing he's supposed to be there for. Also, Alice is in the Batcave with them. When Montoya remanded Alice into Ryan's custody, she really meant it. Alice doesn't need extra guards or security or 24-hour surveillance or anything. All the infamous mass murderer needs to babysit her is Ryan f***ing Wilder. You know, I'm starting to think this might not have been a very good idea on Montoya's part. Sophie comes in with a forensics report. It seems Croc's drool contains a paralytic agent. This will have no bearing on the rest of the episode, but it's very important that we know it for some reason. So, lacking any better ideas, Ryan says to put the crazy lady on this. And Mary half-heartedly reminds her that we don't use the C word anymore. Holy shit! They actually managed to keep continuity for one episode! And yes, I'm as shocked as you are! Then, outside, a helicopter flies in. Jada Jet, the CEO of Jetorian Industries, wants a meeting with the Wayne CEO and is not leaving until she gets one. And this is a problem because how do we explain to her that the CEO has been missing for years? What follows was so stupid, even I was floored by it. The Wayne CEO having gone missing for years implies that a new CEO was never appointed and they've just been operating without one ever since, which is really not how business works. Then Luke thinks that Ms. Jet will settle for the acting CEO, Ryan. Apparently, before she left town, off screen of course, Kate made Ryan the acting CEO of Bruce's company. How does Kate have the power to do this, you ask? Well, once again, I can only speculate because God knows they don't bother explaining it, but my guess would be that via the latest retcon in this shitstorm, Kate had somehow been the CEO of Wayne Enterprises since she came back to town in the pilot, even though that had never been a thing until just now, and appointed Ryan as her successor before she left town again. Which now means that the acting CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world is a girl whose last two jobs were bartender and person trying not to drop the soap in the shower. And for some reason, when the board of directors got wind of this, they were like, okay. Wow. I can't imagine why Ruby Rose would think this show is awful. Writing this sophisticated only comes around once in a lifetime. So this is asinine, but hardly surprising. Hell, I predicted this exact situation in the comments of the last video. And as long as we're talking about predictable things, get a load of this. Ryan asks Sophie what Bruce would insist on knowing about this woman, and Sophie says, probably her bra size. Oh, and also, Jada Jet is your birth mother. Really, Sophie? You tell her this now, knowing it's going to completely f with Ryan's head right before the meeting? You couldn't wait to tell Ryan this after the meeting? You couldn't just not tell her, given that Ryan told you last episode that she didn't want to know who her mom is? I mean, she was probably about to find out anyway, but Sophie didn't know that. Jesus. So this is Ryan's birth mother, and Bruce may have wanted to have sex with her. Gee, I wonder where this is going. I'd really like to think that the writers are not getting ready to reveal that Ryan is the illegitimate daughter of Bruce Wayne and thus heir to the entire Wayne fortune. But does anyone really believe that's not what's going on here? Does anyone really believe that Ryan being the daughter of one billionaire just wouldn't be good enough for these writers? I'd love to be wrong. I would. But let's face it, the show's track record does seem to be pointing in a certain direction. Anyway, Ryan gets a quick primer on Jada Jet. She took over the company a decade ago after her husband died, and in half that time, she had doubled the company's wealth because she's a woman and thus a super amazing badass. So Sophie gives Ryan a pep talk. Jada comes in just long enough to say that her people traced Sophie's hack from last week back to Wayne Enterprises and tells Ryan to stay out of her business. It's very brief, and I hate this character already. Back in the cave, Luke and Mary are working on the Batwing Suit. Luke thinks that what's causing the suit to shut down is a failsafe that tracks the medical data of the person wearing it, and if he's injured, the suit goes into safe mode, meaning that it shuts down completely, leaving the person in the suit completely fucking helpless, which is so goddamn stupid even Mary thinks it makes no sense. Then Mary wants to be useful, I guess, first time for everything, and figures that if the suit thinks Luke is injured, maybe he should get a checkup or something. So Luke takes his shirt off, and Mary's jaw drops, because Luke has been hiding this super hot body under his bookworm clothes for the last 2 seasons. He's been hitting the gym a lot off screen, I guess. So as you can imagine, Mary plays this super cool. She's like, wow, Luke, you're keeping fit. Here, let me take your body. And by that I mean take your pulse, which I need to get in real close to do. Trust me, I'm a doctor. Whoa, your heart rate is rising. Now it's racing. Luke, you're totally fine. Oops, I mean, you're totally feeling fine. I covered that up pretty well. Yeah, so you had to figure they were gonna do this at some point. I was hoping we could avoid it because Lord knows Luke has suffered enough already, but it's a thing now. The Luke and Mary ship. Mook? Larry? who cares, is finally boarding. Jesus help these poor assholes. Because the kicker is, on top of how ungodly irritating this is no doubt going to be, straight romances on this show only end one way. So it's only a matter of time now before one or both of them dies horribly. We need to get these two into a straight romance ASAP. Anyway, Luke seems healthy, not that Mary did that much to make sure, and he thinks he can stop the suit from shutting down in the middle of fights by simply turning the failsafe off, which Mary thinks is a bad idea. She thinks it's smarter for Luke to go into battle wearing a malfunctioning battle suit that might render him helpless if someone looks at it cross-eyed. That's your love interest, Luke. You poor bastard. Then we cut to Alice, who is Googling how to disable the tracking beacon attached to her ankle because Ryan, in her infinite wisdom, thought it was a good idea to leave Alice in the Batcave unsupervised. I can't with this fucking show, man. I fucking can't. I fucking can't. Ryan comes back in, and Alice just magically knows exactly how Killer Croc 2.0 is choosing his victims because her own experience as a psychopathic killer is totally applicable to the inner workings of the mind of a half-man, half-reptile. And she's right. She's like, well, you see, Ryan, a fledgling predator will want to separate one from the herd and go for easy pickings. That's how I chose my first kill, which is bullshit. That's not even remotely what happened. She chose her first kill because she found her mom's decapitated head in a refrigerator and then immolated the hateful cartoon character who wanted to wear a face mask made of her mom's ass or something. You try to make sense of that trash storyline. Alice points them toward a location of some missing person cases down by the shore near the pool where the straight couple died. Then we cut to the shore where a little girl gets taken after wandering away from a family picnic looking for her soccer ball. Later that night, Batwoman and Alice are looking around for this girl while the police are nowhere to be seen and even the girl's parents aren't looking for her. And why is Alice on the freaking mission with Batwoman instead of just talking to her over the comms back at the cave where she could be easily secured and prevented from escaping, you ask? Because they find the soccer ball, which is covered in goo, but it doesn't paralyze anyone, so that's meaningless. Alice thinks Croc may have stashed the girl somewhere to eat later, and she also finds some shed crocodile skin on the ground, meaning he's growing fast, so they should probably hurry. While following the trail Croc left, Alice needles Ryan into talking about Jada, who Ryan says was amazing, confident, direct, fearless, unapologetic, and a freaking masterclass in taking what's hers. Jesus H. Christ, Ryan, you met this bitch for 2 minutes. Also, aren't you supposed to be resenting her right now? Ryan insists that she doesn't want Jada in her life, which is obviously a lie. They find the manhole or whatever where the trail ends, and then they argue about who goes in first. Alice thinks that Ryan should go first on account of Ryan being the one in tactical body armor. Ryan thinks Alice doesn't give a shit about this little girl, and Alice is like, I was this girl. I will not give up on her the same way everybody gave up on me. And why on God's green earth do they keep pounding this drum? Again, that is not what happened. People only stopped looking for Alice because Catherine falsified DNA evidence to make everyone believe Alice was dead. But that doesn't fit the writer's narrative, so now everyone just gave up on Alice because they're assholes and she wants to play the victim card for sympathy. And that's gonna dry up really damn quick in just a few minutes. Once they actually get down there, they find lots of meat hanging from the ceiling. This is bait put there by Killer Croc's dad. He was on a fishing trip with his son Stevie. The kid found a huge tooth in a fish he caught, cut himself on it, got infected, and slowly turned into a lizard man who escaped and started killing people. Now the dad is trying to lure the kid in, and he has a cattle prod ready to use, only the cattle prod isn't for his son, it's for Batwoman. So he shocks Ryan with it, and holy moly, it works incredibly well. It shocks her right through the suit. This cattle prod is so effective against Batwoman, I almost thought he was wielding a trumpet for a second there. I mean, it's not as devastating as a trumpet, what possibly could be, but still, It's pretty impressive. He says that he's not gonna let them hurt his boy. He knows they'd just take Stevie away and put him in a lab and stick him full of needles and stuff. Yeah, all those things doctors do with sick people when they're trying to find a cure for them. We can't let that happen to this innocent boy turned man-eating monster. So he's just going to town on Ryan with this cattle prod. He's shocking her over and over and over and over. It's actually pretty funny how he doesn't let up on this. Then Killer Croc shows up, and oh my god, the makeup is terrible! You can clearly see the actor's real teeth behind the fake jaw they glued to his head. It's so bad, and I'm pretty sure they knew how bad it was because they only show Croc in very quick shots and always in low lighting so we can't see how bad he actually looks, but man, those lights were not low enough. Good grief. And what was all that shit about him molting because he was growing really fast? He was no bigger than a normal dude. What the hell happened here? I hate the CW's Flash as much or more than anyone on this platform. That show is absolute dog shit. I've been saying that for years. But you know what? In episodes where they use Grodd or King Shark, the production team CGs the whole character, and they tend to look pretty decent for network TV. It's still crap, but it's enough to prove that the show at least has a budget. So, Batwoman producers, when you clowns are getting shown up by the Flash, maybe it's time to just take your ball, go home, and admit that this is not your thing. So after Croc drags the dad away, Alice picks up the cattle prod, fries the ankle bracelet with it, leaves Ryan lying there, and fucks off. Great plan, Montoya. Ryan calls the cave where Sophie is manning the comms. Because Luke's job can be done by absolutely anybody, they say the suit's fixed, so Ryan needs Luke to go after Alice while she saves the girl. If you think about it, Luke is probably better equipped to deal with the super strong guy, given that he easily defeated a dude enhanced with Bane's venom last season, but weirdly enough, that never comes up. On her way out, Alice hears the little girl crying for help, and she's like, ugh. Fine, I'll go save an innocent life. God. By the way, if you're wondering why Alice didn't just exit the sewer the same way she came in if her intention was to escape, well, the writers didn't wonder about that, so you're out of luck. Alice finds the girl, but her leg is broken and she can't walk. Then they hear Croc coming back, and despite the girl begging her for help, Alice can't nope out of there fast enough. But she does impart some sage wisdom before she leaves this kid to die in a way that's way too gruesome for the CW to show on screen. No one's going to save you except you. Do it your fucking self. And then she fucks off again. I wonder if Alice will still be playing the sympathy card after this one. Meanwhile, Ryan searches for Stevie, going on and on about how he's lucky to have a parent who cares about him so much, who would do anything to protect him and never give up on him no matter what, blah blah blah, and then she finds the dad's corpse. So her projecting her own issues onto the mindless lizard man doesn't look like it's gonna pan out. Cut to Montoya's office, where she's just sitting there doing f*** all. Someone tells her they lost the signal from Alice's tracker, and Montoya's like, oh damn. Maybe getting the costume vigilante to do my job for me wasn't such a great idea after all. Nah, I'm sure it'll all work out. And now, back to my nap. Cut to Alice leaving the sewer when she's confronted by Batwing. They have a really half-assed fight, and hope you're sitting down for this one. Luke has trouble with Alice. He took down a crazed madman who had Bane-level strength with one punch, but Alice is more than he can handle. Because the plot says so. So even though Luke is wearing powered armor that augments his strength, protects him from the cattle prod, and is clearly imbuing him with some sort of enhanced fighting prowess, Alice still beats him handily. But he gets one over on her by actually using that big brain he's supposed to have and injecting Alice with a Deus Ex Machina that turns her into a walking tracking beacon or something so they can find her anywhere. The fighting thing is still a work in progress, but hey, score one for Luke. Sort of. Back in the sewer, Croc is about to kill the girl. Ryan stops him. They have another half-assed fight that ends with her shooting a net at him, and this net must somehow have more mass than Croc does because it just blasts him back like 15 feet and pins him against a wall. How? So the girl is saved, and I don't remember if we even learned her name. The tooth is secured. Montoya congratulates Batwoman, but she's like, I don't see your partner anywhere. And Ryan's like, dude, she's right over there, sulking in the Batmobile. Also, your tracker doohickey was shit, so we found a better solution. You're welcome. Rachel Maddow tells us that Croc has been sent to Arkham. Instead of, a lab or something so they could find a cure for him. Yeah, we're gonna send the mindless, man-eating reptile dude to a mental asylum. I'm sure they've got the facilities to handle something like that. Also, Alice is back in Arkham. Why? As far as Montoya knows, Alice didn't break any of the terms of her release. Ryan made sure of that. But she's just back in Arkham anyway, because nothing matters and the writers don't care. Sophie talks to Ryan and apologizes for dropping that bio-mama revelation on her. Ryan's having trouble coming to terms with Jada Jet paying a doctor $2 million just so no one would know that Ryan was hers. What kind of mom does that? But Sophie's like, well, you don't know what her life was like back then. You don't know what her situation was, but there's only one person who can give you those answers, and Sophie knows what it's like to put up a wall like Ryan's doing right now, but she also knows what it's like to just need a hug from your mom. What if she doesn't want me? Then it'll be her loss. Honestly, this scene is not bad. I don't care about it, but it's not as awful as the stuff we usually get. And it shows that given some material that isn't the worst thing ever committed to the page, Javicia Leslie can be a competent actress. She just very rarely gets the chance to show it. Back in the cave, the Batwing Suit's AI has stopped talking to Luke since he turned off the failsafe. Mary urges him to turn the failsafe back on, even though all that's done is make the suit crap out and put Luke in danger at the worst possible times. And Mary has pinpointed where the suit thought Luke was injured. It's the same place where he got shot, but that injury was totally healed by the Deus Ex Machina flower, so Mary surmises that the pain the suit is interpreting as physical is actually psychological. That's absurd, and Luke says as much, but it's Mary's idea, and Mary's a woman, so she's going to be 100% right, and Luke, the man, is going to be 100% wrong. Cut back to Montoya's office, where they now have the poison ivy vines, which Ryan and Luke previously deposited back in the Batcave. Whatever. Their botanist in the lab doesn't think these are poison ivy's vines. I guess the real vines grew out of the canister at the end of season 2, so these are fakes. Montoya opens the canister and waters the vines, but that does nothing, so the real vines must still be out there somewhere. Are the Batwoman writers about to butcher poison ivy? Yeah. Poor Bridget Regan. She deserves so much better than this. And the episode ends over at Jetorian Industries, where Ryan shows up in Jada Jet's office and announces that she's Jada's daughter. Dun dun dun! Who the hell cares? Well, that sucked. But I guess it wasn't quite as painful as usual. Nobody acted like an asshole, except Alice, who's the bad guy, so she's supposed to do that. Ryan got pooned by a normal dude with a cattle prod, which was pretty fucking funny, actually. Luke, bless his heart, got to do something useful, though they did officially establish him as Mary's love interest, God help him. The villain of the week's makeup was downright embarrassing, but at least they seem to be trying, in their own incompetent way, to make him frightening, even if they kinda sucked at it. Killer Croc was not ruined, it was just some rando who got infected by Croc. Thank you. And the mission was straightforward enough that there wasn't really that much for the writers to f*** up. Don't get me wrong, there was still truckloads of stupid stuff, but compared to last week's episode, this almost came within spitting distance of being semi-tolerable. So it wasn't really Batwoman stupid, it was just run-of-the-mill, everyday CW stupid. So if the season premiere was horrifically stupid, by comparison, this episode was just dumb, predictable, half-assed tripe, which, to be honest, probably makes it one of the better episodes this show has done. Was it good? Hell no. But it was somewhat less excruciating than the last episode, and after that horseshit season premiere, that's about all I can ask for. That's 2 down. We're 2 episodes closer to the end of this shit. And after that tirade Ruby Rose dropped on the show this week, maybe, just maybe, That end is on the horizon. Thanks for watching. If you loved or hated this video, let me know in the comments. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media to always be notified when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel, which YouTube is being a jerk about right now, but I'm working on it. The links are down below. Thumbs up the video, share, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more soon. So stay tuned for that, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for 40,000 subscribers, and now, warm up that projector, pop that popcorn, Dune, here I come!